Fernando Vina will try to get something going for St. Louis, taking on Mike Hampton. Glad you're with us on a Monday night. Ball one. Fernando Vina so far in this LCS 5 out of 19. Had 1 hit in 3 at bats plus a walk against Mike Hampton back in St. Louis in game 1. That's into the strike zone, a ball and a strike. 56 degrees here. Flushing, New York. And for a while it looked like we might be delayed at the start. Wind is blowing straight in from center at the moment. The 1-ball 1-strike pitch. Vina right back up the middle. And like he has in each of the last 3 games, he's on with a base hit. Well, what will the Cardinals try to do at the plate? Some pregame instructions for anybody who will listen from Cardinal hitting coach Mike Easler.
Take no prisoners. See it, read it, and explode. The ABCs of hitting.
It's as easy as ABC. 1, 2, 3. Vina with a line drive back through the middle against Hampton.
Now Polanco.
See it, read it, and explode. Gotta love it.
Of course, he was talking to Larry Sutton, who's not even active for this series, and even Larry got up and walked away. Polanco in the postseason hitting .308. This LCS, only 1 out of 3 has been bothered by a strained right hamstring. Tatis had made the last 2 starts, but tonight it's Polanco. See the jump on that pitch as it cut in on the hands of Polanco, and the count 1-0.
The first inning has been horrible for both clubs. Last night, Cardinals scoring 2 in the top of the first, and the Mets came back with 4. Each team has scored at least 2 runs in the top of the first inning in every game.
Shallow right. Perez coming to get it. 1 on, 1 out. Look at a little history. Postseason history for the Cardinals and the Mets as Mike Hampton makes the start here tonight. Cardinals in elimination games are 13-7. The Mets in games where they could clinch 7-4, including game 4 of the division series last Sunday. The strength of the 1-hit shutout by Bobby Jones to KO the Giants. Here's Edman. .295 hitter during the regular season, .394 in this postseason. Homered in the first inning last night. A check on Vina. Last night we detailed how the Mets hold against a runner at first with a left-hander on the mound. They do it primarily, Bobby Valentine telling us before the game, for left-handers who don't have a particularly good move or are slow to the plate. They weren't going to use it with Hampton until he got a look at it and a feel for it, and he likes it as well. Ball 1 to Jim Edmonds.
Now Mike Hampton does not have a good move to first base, but he gets rid of the ball home very, very quickly. He does it 2 ways. He'll have the normal leg kick, and he's got a slide step toward home when he does not pick up his right leg. He also has a slide step toward first. That was the normal move home, and the Mets got a break on that fastball.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Edmonds thought it was low, and it looked low.
Edmonds with 3 home runs in this postseason, 1 in this LCS. As I mentioned, it came here last night. Goes the opposite way, slicing foul and out of play, and that's strike 2. What it looked like last night against Bobby Jones. Vina third, whack. Right center field, and a short-lived 2-0 lead. 4 doubles on the other side later. And it was 3-2 Mets. It would be 5-4-2 Mets at the end of 1. 7-2 Mets, and as we mentioned last night, They played keep away and won the game 10-6. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Edmonds. And they had Vigna leaning, but he got around the tag.
That was the slide step toward first base. A lot of people think this is a balk. You have to step toward first base. Mike Hampton got away with one there. Vigna reading it. If you don't step toward first base as a left-handed pitcher, the umpire at first could call a balk. That was very, very close right there.
Now the 1-2 to Edmonds, misses up and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. One of the residual effects of the way the Mets hold against a runner at first is the first base umpire doesn't get a real good look with those 2 bodies flashing in front of him.
That's true.
At where the left-handed pitcher puts his foot.
And a home plate umpire is in no position to make the call, nor is a second base umpire.
The 2-2 to Edmonds. Just missed. This crowd wanted strike 3. Instead, it's ball 3 and a full count.
Even though Jim Edmonds struck out 167 times on the year, 3rd in the National League, I think Vigna will be off here. The one thing he has to do is make sure Hampton goes home.
The 28-year-old Mike Hampton ready in a 3-2. 2 out.
Not running, and Tony La Russa with the right move. Let's take a look at how Mike Hampton pitched to Jim Edmonds. The fastball misses upstairs, and then a break on a pitch, a low strike. 2-2 to Edmonds, and a very close pitch, and finally Hampton got him on a fastball out of the strike zone.
And now Eric Davis.
Excuse me, Joe, only 1 curveball in that sequence to Edmonds.
A better read on that move. Eric Davis in this postseason hitting under 200. Last night delivered off the bench for Tony La Russa with an RBI double, later scored a run in the 5th inning. The Cardinals that frame would make the score 8-6. Made it a game but lost 10-6.
Well, Joe, we're going to try this one more time. The Cardinals have not been overly aggressive on the bases in this series, other than Edgar Renteria in Game 2 when he stole 3 bases. But once again, the combination of Mike Piazza behind the plate. Mike Hampton does not have a great move to first base. Could be a situation where Vigna could be on the move trying to get himself into scoring position.
So again, you're on the line of saying the Cardinals will run.
One more time, we're going to try it.
No balls, 1 strike on Davis. 1 on, 2 out. High and tight, 1-1.
Joe, you mentioned the first base umpire, Steve Ripley, tonight. Couldn't see the move by Hampton. Fernando Vigna can't see the move by Hampton. Well, having Todd Zeile there, he's blocking not only Ripley, but Vigna too.
A ball and a strike on Eric Davis. And Hampton falls behind, 2-1. Vigna's listed at only 5'9", 174. So he is trying to peek around the bigger bodied Zeile, who stands between him and the pitcher Hampton. So they get to whisper into each other's ears. 2-1 on Eric Davis. 3 balls and a strike with Will Clark next.
Piazza in the postseason has allowed 5 stolen bases in 5 attempts. He had the worst throwing percentage in the major leagues this year. Only 16 out of 126 caught stealing with Piazza behind the plate.
3-1. Davis, a chopper to Ventura. Half inning gone. Hampton around a leadoff hit. Bottom of the 1st. Mets coming to the plate. No score. The defense for the St. Louis Cardinals finds Langford, Edmonds, and Davis in the outfield. Drew started Game 1 against Hampton, but it's Langford tonight with Polanco, Renteria, Vigna, Clark, and Carlos Hernandez behind the plate. Catching Pat Hentgen.
Joe, you mentioned that Pat had not started since September 30th. He has not won a game since September 14th. Only complete game shutout of the year against the Cubs.
Perez leading it off. 5 out of 18 in this LCS, 10 out of 35 in the postseason with 3 RBIs. And the count 1-1. Pat Henkin making his 3rd postseason start. He made 2 starts in '93 with the Toronto Blue Jays, the world champion Blue Jays. A fastball poured in for strike 2. He lost in the LCS to the White Sox. He won Game 3 of the World Series over Philadelphia, 10-3 win. When he went 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 5 hits. Former Cy Young Award winner and a 3-time All-Star. Right now, his job is to turn in. Tim's already mentioned it. According to Tony La Russa, 5 solid innings here tonight. A 1-2 to Perez. Got him to chase it, but Perez fouls it out of play. Still 1-2.
That's the location, even though it was high, but that's the area that Pat Henkin wants to control tonight. The left side of the plate. As you were looking at it right there, inside to a left-hander, outside to a right-hander.
Breaking ball, grounded up the middle. Another hit for Perez. 6 out of 19 in the league championship series.
As the leadoff batter, he has scored 3 runs in the 4 games. And Perez does it again. It's like it went under the glove of Renteria. Pretty good curveball by Henkin.
There you go. Scored as a leadoff hitter 3 of 4 times in this series. 2 outfield assists, 6 runs scored, and he's on for the most potent and most clutch Mets hitter, Edgardo Alfonzo. Low and away, ball 1. Edgardo with a 10-game postseason hitting streak dating back to Game 5 of last year's NLCS against Atlanta. He's hitting all 8 in this postseason for New York, and to throw to first. Find it interesting that Carlos Hernandez, the Cardinal catcher, has changed the color of his catching gear. Last night had gray catching gear, and tonight, in my mind at least, either one of 2 reasons. 1, superstition. 2, to make Henkin feel more comfortable on the mound, and I'll tell you why in a moment. There goes Perez, swing and a miss, throw down, safe. Perez will go to third, and he's there with nobody out. Stolen base, E2, runner at third, nobody down.
We keep talking about how the Cardinals should run, and it's the Mets and Perez who continue to run. A poor pitch to handle by Hernandez, a short hop to Vina, and Perez, he has become a one-man first-inning wrecking crew for the Mets.
Now the 1-1 to Alfonzo is ripped to short under the glove of Renteria, and the Mets are on top 1-0.
Renteria was there, and a ball that should have been handled. So an error on Renteria. If the glove's down, the ball's there. 27 errors on the year. And again, that stolen base. If Alfonzo hits that same tight ball and Renteria makes the play, you can turn that into a double play.
Now 1 on, nobody out. It's a hit for Alfonzo. That's how they've scored it, to give him an 11-game hitting streak, and he's hit now in all 9 that the Mets have played in this postseason. 4 against the Giants. This is game 5 of the NLCS. Here's Piazza. Nobody out. And the count goes to 2-0. Starting pitching for the Cardinals in this NLCS in the first inning has been atrocious. Hampton gave up a leadoff hit to Perez, stole second, went to third on the throwing error by Hernandez. Perez scored on the hit by Alfonso, and now 3-0 on Piazza.
Piazza not normally a hitter who likes to swing 3-0.
Tailing back, put low, ball 4, 2 on, nobody out.
Number 4.
2 hits, a walk, a stolen base, an error, a run. Facing 3 batters after 16 days of rest for Pat Henkin. Now it's Ventura. Runners on at first and second, nobody out, and a strike from Henkin. Ripped into right field. Alfonso around third, he'll score. Digging for third is Piazza. 2-0 New York in the first.
Baseball is a game of first. Last night, 4 doubles in the first inning. Double trouble indeed. Tonight, single trouble. 3 out of the first 4 hitters with singles. Man.
Todd Zeile quoted after last night's game saying it's so close we can taste it. A taste getting better and better. A 2-0 Mets lead in the first. Zeile with first and third, nobody out, takes ball 1. His average climbing upward with a 6 for 15 performance in this LCS. Since League Championship Series went to a best-of-7 format in 1985, only one team has come back down 3 games to 1 to advance to the World Series. That was at the expense of the Cardinals in '96 on the part of the Braves. But a much different story there. The Braves, with the kind of pitching they had lined up for the final 3 games, just blew the Cardinals away. The Cardinals, starting Henkin tonight, they're iffy on Bennis if there is a game 6. And they would have to go back to Kyle in game 7 if they got there. 2 balls, no strikes. Zeile takes a strike, and it's 2-1. Cardinal infield about halfway. They will give up a run for the double play ball. Two balls and a strike. Zeile grounds 1 to second. Pena kicks it. Dropped at first by Clark. In to score Piazza. 3-0 Mets. And Zeile's on at first with only 1 out. You talk about 2 ugly nights of defense last night and now here in the first inning. The play by Renteria. Vina kicks it at the start of this play, and Clark misses it on the back end of it.
And an error on Carlos Hernandez. The boot by Vina. And that ball should have been handled by Will Clark. No error on the play. Looked like the ball hit the heel of the glove of Clark. Very, very shaky defense for the Cardinals here in the first inning.
So now a runner at first, 1 out. 3 runs home for the Mets. And Benny Agbayani at the plate. Very quietly, Benny Agbayani has hit in every postseason game this year for the Mets. In this LCS, 5 out of 15. Hitting .333 in the postseason. 2-0.
Joe and Tim, it's very clear down here at field level. The ground balls are staying down, hugging the ground. The Tarps, of course, were on the field all afternoon. There is still some moisture on the grass and on the dirt as well. The ball that got under Renteria's glove and the ball that Vina misplayed at second, both hugging the ground.
2-0 to Agbayani's a strike. The official scorer on the ball hit by Zeal has charged an error to the first baseman Clark and has taken the RBI away from Zeal. At any rate, it's 3-0. 2 errors on the board now for St. Louis here in the first inning. And a 2-1 pitch coming to Agbayani. 3-1.
That's one of the few times that I have seen an error given because you cannot anticipate a double play. Clearly it wasn't one given to Vina. But had Clark made the catch, it would have been clearly a double play. It is odd for an error to be given on that play.
3 balls and a strike. Agbayani takes a walk. Second walk of the first inning for Henkin. Rest is one thing. 16 days of rest another. And the Cardinals were anxious, concerned about how Henkin would come out and work here early tonight with that sort of a layoff. He's thrown simulated games, but that obvious, you can't simulate or simulate this kind of pressure, this kind of a start, and there's already action for the Cardinals in their bullpen.
Well, we mentioned if Henkin were in trouble early, that Britt Reams would be the pitcher.
2 on, 1 out. Payton takes a strike. There's Reams. In case you're wondering, with 6 or more days of rest since the start of '98, Henkin is 4-0 in 5 starts with an ERA of under 2.5. But the stats cannot support what he would do on 16 days of rest. There's another hit. Zeal held up at second, and the bases are loaded with only 1 out.
Todd Zeal had to hold up because from his vantage point he couldn't tell whether Vina had a shot at that double play. Here's Zeal right here. That holding up right there. No way for Todd to score. Todd is not a fast runner. But another single. That's 4 hits in this inning, and the Cardinals in the first inning have now scored 10 runs in the first inning in these 5 games.
And again, it all goes back to the start that Timo Perez gives them out of the leadoff spot. A hit, a stolen base, and a run scored in the first inning tonight. Last night in Game 4, a double and a run scored. Game 3 on Saturday, a single and a run scored. Perez struck out in the first inning of Game 2, but Game 1, a double and a run scored. The first man to the plate for the Mets. And now here's Bordick with the bases loaded, 1 out. Mets already leading by 3. Bordick, who is hitless in this series, up there ready for the first pitch. He's 0 for 9 in the count, 0-1.
And it's important for the infielders to determine the speed of a ground ball. If the ball's not hit sharply and crisply, they must come home and forego the double play.
Nothing and 1 the count on Bordick. 1 ball, 1 strike. Last 2 games, these Mets 9 out of 17 with runners in scoring position. That's a big out for Hampton and the Cardinals with a pitcher coming up as Clark puts it away. Infield fly rule in effect. 2 out. It is the pitcher coming up, but it is one of the best hitting pitchers in the game today, and that's Mike Hampton. If he could, I'm sure Bordick would like to snap the bat over his knee. 0 for 10 in this series, and a guy who has not joined in with this Mets offensive explosion. Bases loaded, 2 out. Here's Hampton. 2 out of 5 at the plate in this postseason. He was going to swing at the first pitch when he woke up this morning. 0-1.
Mike, with 20 hits on the season, not only is he a good hitter, he's a fast runner. On a slowly hit ball, he'll be running hard down the line.
0-2. Bases loaded, 2 out. The 0-2 pitch. Hampton lunging. He held up 1-2.
Did he go too far? Nah, not even close.
20 hits during the regular season and 73 at bats. 1 shy of a Mets club record. Doc Gooden holds that record. The 1-2 pitch. Over but low, 2-2. Got him looking, and a long first inning is over for Pat Hampton. The Mets come up with 3 runs, 4 hits, a couple of walks, 2 errors, and they leave 3. Timo time. First inning production for the Mets. 3-0 New York after 1. A terrific start for the Mets here in Game 5. Hampton got around a leadoff hit in the first, and his teammates gave him 3 runs to play with. Second inning, Will Clark first up. Clark, Renteria, Langford, a little different look to Tony La Russa's lineup tonight. Ball 1 down and in. In case you're wondering, all 3 runs were earned in the bottom of the first. 1 ball, 1 strike from Hampton. Renteria next. Will Clark has been in 16 games in his LCS history. Sitting .475. Takes a strike, and he's in the hole 1-2. .475 with 4 home runs and 12 RBIs. Crowd into it. They want to see Hampton's second strikeout. Clark stays alive.
Hampton appears to be throwing harder tonight than he was in St. Louis. There was movement on that fastball low. We mentioned the 11 ground balls of the 21 outs by the Cardinals. 4 strikeouts and 6 outs on the air, in the air. But he's throwing the ball a lot harder tonight than he was in St. Louis.
2-2, 91. Hampton has refused to answer questions as to where he thinks he will end up past this year. 2-2 pitch to the left side, and a tester for Bordick. Circles it, throws it. One away. Good play. Clark grounds out to start the second.
Shortstop number 3, Edgar.
Hampton very compact in his delivery. Mike is only 5'9", a terrific athlete. Would have gone to Florida State as a defensive back if he didn't sign with the Houston Astros.
With one out, Renteria takes a strike over the inside corner.
Normally you don't make that connection of football and a pitcher in baseball. Brian Jordan of the Atlanta Braves, of course, an ex-football player. Those are two sports that usually don't blend together if you're a pitcher, but it has for Hampton.
Renteria up with Langford on deck. Shattered bat. Routine for Bordick this time. And he just did get Renteria 2 out. We talked about the athleticism back in game 1 when Hampton made the start in St. Louis. He bounces around whether he's at the plate or on the mound. Trying for the kick save and a ball hit by Hernandez. And then hustling down the line. A ground ball to the left side of the infield. Scoring on a base hit. He is a little fighter. Not a big guy, 5'10", 180. Grew up in Florida, lives in Houston. Still has a lot of friends on that Houston Astro club. He was traded here to the Mets on December 23rd of last year with Derek Bell. That's giving up 3 good young players to get him. Roger Cedeno, Octavio Dotel, and Clyde Kessel, a left-handed pitcher. And it may very well be a 1-year Renton ace for the Mets. They didn't know what they were going to get out of Al Leiter, who last year was 13-12, had a down year after a solid season 2 years ago. You could make the case that either Leiter or Hampton is the #1 starter in this Mets rotation. Leiter, we know, will stay. Hampton will command big dollars, and I don't think the dollars are going to be the problem. Would be the problem for these Mets in bringing Hampton back. It's just him deciding if he wants to stay in New York. 3-1 to Langford is popped up. Ventura, look at the wind play with that. First Bordick thought he had it, then Ventura had to redirect, change his position. A 1-2-3 second for Hampton. 3-0 Mets. Up above, the Bud 1 airship, which travels throughout the year and appears at many exciting sporting events across the country. Chilly night here in New York, mid-50s. A steady mist. Can you say a steady mist earlier? Sure. Does that make sense? The rain has stopped. The wind is blowing straight in, and Perez shoots one to left. Langford back to get it. 1 out. 1 pitch, 1 out. Here in the second. I started to talk
the second baseman
in the bottom of the first about Carlos Hernandez, about him changing the color of his catching gear, and this is only speculation. It might border the ridiculous as Alfonso stands in. But last night, catching Darryl Kyle with gray catching equipment on, tonight red. I think whatever the Cardinals can do to make Pat Henkin feel as comfortable as possible without Mike Matheny behind the plate. Matheny wore red catching gear during the season. Mike Matheny caught all but one of Pat Henkin's starts this season, and of all the pitchers the Cardinals have, Kyle and that poor start last night included, Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan are more worried about Pat Henkin working with Carlos Hernandez, or a better way to put it, not working with Mike Matheny, than any other pitcher on the staff. Alfonso gets into one to left center. At the track, at the wall, it's caught by Langford. 371 feet away. 2 out.
I've got to think that the wind had something to do with that ball. That ball was smoked to left center. I think Ray Lankford thought the ball was out. Ray ends up making a fine play. But remember the pop-up hit by Ray Lankford to end the top of the second inning. Ventura had problems with it. Joe, you mentioned the wind carrying that ball in. I think the wind had a lot to do with that ball, and so did Tony La Russa. Tony thought it was out the minute it was hit.
Piazza now strike one. Sure, Henkin did. La Russa watching from the dugout over in that corner to the left of home plate as we view it, thought it was gone. Lankford didn't give up on it.
Nope.
Went back and made the play, and now an 0-1 pitch to Piazza, who walked and scored his first time, is high.
Mets making the deal for Mike Piazza on May 22nd, 1998. Todd Hundley was the catcher at the time. Todd Hundley and Mike Piazza played about 3/4 of the season for the Mets that year.
3-1 with Ventura next.
But a bigger decision came after the '98 season when the Mets decided to sign Mike for $91 million over 7 years, turning into quite a bargain now.
Back to Henkin, knocks it down. After a long first inning, a 1-2-3 second. Not without a scare from Alfonso, and after 2, 3-0 Mets. We'll be back following this word from your local Fox station. The many different looks of Carlos Hernandez as he steps in yesterday on the left, catching with the gray catcher's equipment. Tonight with the red. We talked last night about the white fingernail polish that he's wearing so that his pitcher can get a better look at the signs that he's putting down. Mike Hampton has good action on that fastball as he hits the inside corner. 0-1 on Carlos Hernandez. Hitting .280 in the postseason. Coming in for Mike Matheny. Off the plate to the third baseman Ventura. Had to fight the lights. 1 out. Here's Carlos Hernandez before the game, and now we've answered that question. It's nothing from Revlon. It's just liquid paper. Not very good at it either. So the nails extended. And there's the afternoon game from Catcher Cam. This is the E-Fashion Report here in Game 5 of the National League Championship Series. Have to worry, Bob Brenly, if Will Clark started painting his fingernails, wouldn't you?
You would definitely be concerned. Fortunately for Carlos Hernandez, though, we know white goes with anything. But on a serious note, that's much more appropriate than what most catchers do when they wrap tape around their fingers so the pitchers can see the signs. That tape occasionally will interfere with the grip that you're able to get on a ball trying to make a throw.
Here's Henkin floating one into right. Perez thinking about throwing him out at first, but Henkin got down the line well enough, and Perez, who's playing like he's been in the big leagues for 15 years, gives a wink in at Pat Henkin. 1 on, 1 out.
Henkin not running hard until he saw Perez think about throwing to first. The one impressive thing among many about Perez is his body language. He feels like he belongs. You can see it in his play. You can see it in the way he carries himself.
1 on, 1 out. Vina with a double play ball to second. Alfonso from the glove, and the Mets can't turn it. As it was, Alfonso, who had to dive to his right, did all he could to try, flipping it straight out of the leather. But Vina's speed avoided the double play.
Now, Bob had talked about it in the first inning, how the condensation had not allowed the ball to take the normal hops, and that ball hugging the ground. Alfonso thought it was going to be a clean hop. Had to shuffle it off to Bordig with the glove hand.
So now 1 on 2 out. Placido Polanco at the plate. Polanco flied to right his first time up. Edmonds would follow. Strike one.
Here are some of the ground balls that we were talking about in this ball game back in the first inning. Ball hugged the ground, got underneath the glove of Edgar Renteria. Then a ball hit to his backhand that stayed down, got underneath the glove. Tough play for Vina. The ball stayed down once again. And then the last one that we just saw hit to Edgardo Alfonso. The ball stayed down as well.
So the inning is kept alive by that. And the 0-1 pitch to Polanco is chopped foul 0-2.
Some of that may have to do with that turf around the home plate. It's a very soft surface. With the rain before the game, and that ball hits there, it does have a tendency to flatten out and not allow the ground balls to take the normal hops.
0-2 on Polanco. Got him looking. Second strikeout for Hampton. And the Mets cruise into the bottom of the third inning. Carlos Hernandez goes back to work. So does Henkin, with the Cardinals down by 3. National Sports Report tonight after the game on Fox Sports Net. Here's Ventura. An RBI single his first time up. Zeal and Agbayani will follow against Henkin. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ventura 3 out of 12 in this series. Driven off the plate, 2-1.
Keith Olbermann mentioned briefly Robin Ventura, who went to Oklahoma State. He was a Cowboy in 1986 when the Mets won the World Series. And that year, he hit in 58 games in a row. Much is made and much should be made of Joe DiMaggio's famous 56-game hitting streak back in 1941. 58 in a row, even if you're in college. Some achievement.
That's foul. That meant 58 pings. Ping. With those aluminum bats.
No broken bats.
No.
No.
Day after day after day for Ventura. That's foul. Not a lot of hits in this LCS for Ventura, but toward the tail end of the division series, you could see him get a better swing at the ball, and it started with that Game 4 2-run first inning homer. He is up there just taking hack after hack after hack. Last 3 foul, and the count's still 3-2.
Robin also a member of the American baseball team, the Seoul Olympics. Actually a gold medal, but a demonstration sport that year.
Takes a leadoff walk here to start the 3rd inning.
Andy Bennis of the Cardinals, also a member of that team.
Here's Zeal. Here's Andy Bennis, former #1 pick in the country back in 1988. Came right up with San Diego in '89. He, Andy Bennis, so far is the only starter who has turned in a solid outing in this LCS for Tony La Russa. Ventura running, hit and run. Zeal is one of the few guys in this Mets lineup that Bobby Valentine can do that with. The count 0-1.
It's odd also for Bobby to put it on the first pitch, because Todd Zeal is not a first ball hitter. Probably more than anybody in the National League. Zeal will take that first pitch. So since he fouled it back, Bobby Valentine may put it on again.
But that's the situation the Mets are in. Up 3-1. They're leading 3-0 third inning here in Game 5. They can do what they want.
Play a more wide open game.
Ventura stays put on ball 1. You made the remark to Bobby Valentine when we met with him before the game. You've never seen him this relaxed.
I haven't. Very intense guy, and Bobby's answer, well, when you're managing this team, you become more relaxed. Great deal of respect for this veteran crew with some younger players sprinkled in.
Strike 2 on Zeal. In fact, he said they calm me down.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll get up and I'll walk down to the end of the dugout just so I can listen to what they're saying, so that I become more calm, as opposed to the manager walking down to the end of the bench trying to calm the players down. A ball and 2 strikes on Zeal after a leadoff walk to Ventura. Two balls, 2 strikes. These Mets trying to close out this National League Championship Series here tonight and avoid climbing on a plane tomorrow going back to St. Louis for Game 6, which would be on Wednesday. They have the right guy on the mound to do that. Mike Hampton, who has pitched 3 shutout innings so far, allowing only 2 hits. The 2-2. Got him on the inside corner, 1 out. Here's Bobby Valentine talking about the importance of ending the series tonight here at home.
Select there. Number 50.
I don't think we have had a time schedule and doing what we have to do. We just feel we have to do it. We want to do it. So it'd be nice to have our home field and our fans share this whole thing, but we know we're going to play until the bitter end, whenever that end is, and we believe that we're going to come out victorious.
1 on 1 out here for Agbayani. Then he walked his first time up. Then scored 3 in the first and left the bases loaded. Henkin runs him off the plate. That's something Henkin has to do if he's going to work that slot over the outside part of the plate.
Yeah, that's his lane. Often pitchers will have that lane that they're familiar with, and Henkin very familiar with the outside part of the plate to right-handers and inside to left-handers.
One ball, 1 strike.
Well, inwardly he may be extremely nervous, but Bobby Valentine very calm before the ball game today, drumming along with the music that was playing on the PA system. He's no Ringo Starr, but he knows how to bang those skins a little bit.
He's been playing a wipeout. One ball, 1 strike, 1 on, 1 out, and saved by Hernandez. 2-1.
Here's what we were talking about as we take a look at the scouting report. He controls the left side of the plate with a fastball and a slider. Tony La Russa is saying that he must get his curveball over. And the 3rd time through the lineup, it's the 2nd time here in the 3rd inning, 2nd time through the lineup. That 3rd time through the lineup is what concerns Tony La Russa.
The 2-1 to Agbayani, 3-1. You would have to think that the 3rd time through the lineup, Henkin will be sitting and watching, and Reams or somebody else will be out of the bullpen and pitching for St. Louis.
I don't think the Cardinals can really afford another at-bat by Pat Henkin. Outs are precious to the Cardinals right now.
Ball 4 from Henkin. 2 walks in the inning. 4 on the night. And with a Zeal strikeout in between, walks to Ventura and Agbayani for Jay Payton. So with 2 on, 1 out, Payton will bat, and we remind you this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball. and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of Major League Baseball. No worry of that happening in St. Louis if this game stays as is. Payton with 2 on, 1 out. Already has a single in tonight's game. And Henkin falls behind. There is action behind Henkin in the bullpen. Red Reams, who was warming up back in the first inning. Talk about third time through the lineup. Henkin almost didn't make it 1 time through the lineup. 1 ball, 1 strike on Payton. Two on, 1 out. Down the left field line for Langford. The wind will hold that up. And the runners retreat to first and second, 2 out.
N.J. Payton hit it down on the end of the bat. It was a slider. Just on the end of the bat. Not making contact on the barrel. And Langford able to catch up to it.
Unless you pound the ball, that outfield is going to be a burial ground for these fly balls tonight. 2 on, 2 out for Bordick. Talked about his frustration after popping up with the bases loaded, only 1 out back in the first. He's 0 for 10 in this series and 2 out of 22 in the postseason. The 0-1 to Bordick. Shallow right. Davis. And the Mets put 2 on with a pair of walks. They've now left 5. 4th inning. Heart of the order for St. Louis. Edmonds, Davis, Clark coming up. 3-0 Mets. Still a 3-0 lead for Mike Hampton and the Mets. Take a look at the St. Paul Company's trivia question. Cardinals won their last World Championship in 1982. He was named their World Series most valuable player. You know, sir?
Not offhand.
Edmonds will start it. 0 for 1. He struck out back in the first inning and takes a strike on the outside corner. So far so good in the control area for Mike Hampton. Fell behind each of the first 3 hitters in the first inning. But he has good life to his pitches tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's that extra pop, that extra 10 feet through the strike zone. Said it earlier, Mike Hampton threw well in St. Louis, but he's throwing better tonight.
Two and 1.
1982 Cardinals. Mark McGwire was.
Here's a good time to put him on camera.
Mark, I believe, was a freshman at Southern California that year as a pitcher.
Edmonds 2 and 2.
Cardinals came back against the Milwaukee Brewers and won game 6 and 7 in St. Louis. And I remember Willie McGee had a great series that year.
Is that who you're going with?
Well, yeah, I might.
Okay.
I might. Yep.
That's your pick.
Yep.
Okay. Edmonds with a count of 2 balls, 2 strikes. 3rd strikeout for Hampton. What an awkward swing that was.
Well, we talk about the front shoulder often. I was thinking the same thing. Look at Edmonds. dropping the back shoulder. When you drop that back shoulder, obviously you can't do anything but hit the ball in the air. Edmonds with 42 home runs, but the key to most hitters' success is keeping that front shoulder down. That was an odd-looking swing from Jim then.
Eric Davis takes strike one. In the lineup because of his success in years past with Mike Hampton. 9 out of 20 coming in. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's Davis at the plate now, and Will Clark waiting to hit next. In for strike 2. Mike Hampton in complete control at this point. New York Mets tonight trying to win their 4th National League pennant. Ventura backs up. Long throw, 2 out.
Mike Easler, the Cardinal hitting instructor, was known as the hit man when he played for Pittsburgh, not the miss man. And here's what he had to say about that swing of Jim Edmonds.
That backup breaking ball. I don't know if that was a curveball or a sinker. You see that thing spinning, you want to swing at it and swing right through it.
Dropping that back shoulder as Jim did, and that's that backup breaking ball that Mike was talking about.
2 out, bases empty. Will Clark. Clark tested Bordick with a ground ball to Bordick's right back in the 2nd inning. 0 for 1.
Perhaps you folks may not know what a backup breaking ball is. A left-handed hitter from a left-handed pitcher sees the curve. He anticipates it to be where the pitcher anticipates it, and that's low and away. Well, when the ball stays up, the spin of the ball really fools the left-handed hitter, as it appeared to fool Edmonds. Instead of breaking, it stays on the same plane.
1-1 on Clark.
Good fastball from Hampton.
Top of the 4th inning, 3-0 Mets. New York's out hit St. Louis 4-2.
It's fashionable in this area during the summer to go to the Hamptons. That's what the Mets have done tonight.
One ball, 2 strikes on Clark. 2-2. These Cardinals look defeated right now. They need somebody to do something big. As Clark lines one into center, a 2-out base hit. 3rd single of the night for St. Louis. And Renteria will walk in.
Now this breaking ball does what it's supposed to do. Clark read it and went to it and hit it hard. That's to be distinguished between that backup breaking ball that Edmonds swung through.
Renteria grounded out to short his first time up. Squirts away from Piazza, but Will Clark stays put. Ball 1.
Remember Mike Easler in the 1st inning telling his hitters to read it and then explode. Very, very important to read that particular pitch, and Will Clark, one of the best at doing that.
Lefty righty doesn't matter these days for Clark, who's now 27 out of 61 in LCS action. One ball, one strike on Renteria.
Keeping the ball away from Renteria. Renteria set a Cardinals record for home runs by a shortstop with 16 this year.
That's ball 2. Now it's strike 2 as Steve Ripley rings up Renteria, who looks back into the dugout for support.
Goes too far.
Crowd to its feet again. 1-2 to Renteria. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Langford would be next. A 2-out single by Clark. 3-0 Mets lead, top of the 4th inning. Inning over. As Piazza completes the play, 4 strikeouts for Mike Hampton. He said before this game he's ready to pitch the game of his life. So far, so good. 4 strikeouts, no runs, and only 3 hits. Bottom of the 4th inning now, and a 3-0 New York lead. Bottom of the 4th inning now. The Mets bat. They lead by 3. Pat Henkin back to work. Hampton up there hammering. Strike 1. Hampton struck out looking with the bases loaded back in the 1st inning. And Henkin has survived since. Got around 2 walks last inning and now runs the count even, a ball and a strike on Hampton. It'll be Hampton, Perez, and Alfonso. Anybody gets on Piazza here in this 4th inning. That's foul. Well, the Mariners will be here in New York, in the Bronx, taking on the Yankees. Game 6 tomorrow at 8 Eastern on NBC. The Yankees leading that series 3-2. And then, if necessary, 4 o'clock Eastern Wednesday would be game 6 between the Mets and the Cardinals in St. Louis here on Fox. The 2-2 off the end of the bat, shallow left for Langford. Hampton is 0 for 2. Timo Perez has done more than fill in for Derek Bell. He's given this Mets team a different look. Derek Bell is not even with this ball club anymore. He went home to Tampa after suffering this injury to his right ankle. A high right ankle sprain. And that ball hit down the line by Barry Bonds in game 1 of the division series. Starting with game 2 of the division series, Timo Perez has let baseball know that he is here front and center.
Another run scored tonight at 7 in the league championship series. He leads both teams in runs scored.
Looking like he was going to walk up and try that running bunt. Strike 1 from Henkin. Something he tried last night and was unsuccessful with. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tony La Russa told us before the game he expected, or at least hoped for, that might be a better way to put it, Pat Henkin would go 5 and leave having given up 3 or 4 runs. That's off Henkin to the shortstop, on to first and safe as Clark couldn't dig it out.
He might be out. If that ball didn't hit the ground, if it hit off the heel and didn't hit the ground and Renteria caught it, but it hit the ground. So it skipped into the ankle, and then Renteria caught it. And the throw to first was low. Boy, that's an odd play right there. But if that ball had hit off Hentgen's left foot without hitting the ground first, then Perez would have been out because Renteria catches the carom.
The official scorer is saying hit. The scoreboard operator has error on the board. So who's ever running the scoreboard is thinking like us, that should be an error. At any rate, 1 on 1 out. Now they change it on the scoreboard to 5 hits, 2 errors. But that's another defensive mistake by the Cardinals.
Yeah, if this throw's on the money, as you can see, Perez is out easily. Will Clark cannot come up with the in-between hop. That should have been an error on Edgar Renteria.
1 on 1 out. Perez draws a throw.
You know what happens, and I've talked to infielders about that, Joe. Sometimes an infielder is so surprised that he gets a ball like that. That was a line drive up the middle. And because you're so surprised, you're really not in a throwing position. Normally, a guy like Renteria with a strong arm doesn't make a throwing error like that. It was a hit. It wasn't an error, but that was a low throw by Edgar.
First pitch to Alfonso is low for ball 1.
Here it is once again. By the time he got to it, he had gone to his left, and then he had to come back to his right to make the play. And a hit was given to Perez, but we will say once again it should have been an error.
Well, Clark will have a lasting memento from this game 5, a bruise on his right shin as he holds against Perez. Hentgen's bothered by him over at first. So are the Cardinals and Tony La Russa, who pitch out. Now the count's 2-0 on Edgardo Alfonso.
And that's how speed affects ball clubs and managers and catchers and pitchers, sometimes without even running. The threat of the steal often puts you behind a hitter that you don't want to be behind on. And that's the case with Alfonso.
Two balls, no strikes. And that's on the infield. Polanco. 2 out. Just so you know, the runner at first, as Tim told you, Timo Perez has scored 7 runs in this LCS. The record in LCS play is 8. It's been done by several players, including Will Clark. They did it with the Giants in 1989 when he was the MVP of that series. Here's Piazza. 1 on, 2 out. The Mets have scored their runs in bunches during this series, and in fact they came into this game hitting only .252 as a club in this series compared to the Cardinals, who were hitting .289. Now it's Timlin getting loose. There's only one reason why that's the case, because Hentgen is due up 3rd in the top of the 5th inning. 1 on, 2 out. If they go to Reams, they want Reams to be on the mound for more than 1 inning. So fearing that they would have to lift whatever pitcher was on the mound, whoever it was, whether it was Hentgen or Timlin, if he comes out of the bullpen, it would only be for 1 inning. Tony La Russa not willing to make a double switch here in the 4th. Time called at the plate. Ball and a strike on Piazza.
There again, the baseball savvy of Perez. Bobby Valentine may be holding him up to allow Piazza to hit right now. But the very threat that he might run diverts the attention of Hampton.
Here's Hampton trying to get together on the signs with Carlos Hernandez. Something that in Pat's last start on the 30th of September really troubled Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan. Whereas all season, and again, Mike Matheny caught every one of Hampton's start except one. Matheny and Hampton were on the same page. Carlos Hernandez and Hampton are not thinking alike. They didn't on September 30th, and at times in this game they've had a tough time getting together on what to throw these Met hitters.
Very difficult for a catcher to be dealt in mid-season. You have to get used to your new pitching staff, and they have to get used to you.
Perez at first with 2 out, and the 2-1. That's ball 3 with Ventura next.
Perez not running, and now Hampton behind and in the hole to Mike Piazza.
Wind or no wind blowing in from left center field. Piazza proved last night with that blast he hit off Mike James in the 5th inning. The elements will not slow something down that he hits into the air when he gets a hold of one. 3 balls and a strike, and that's what he's thinking here. 1 on, 2 out. Into left field, a base hit toward the corner. Perez going to third. It's cut off by Langford. Good play. That saved a run. 2nd and 3rd, 2 out, and a double by Piazza.
At Cookie Rojas, the third base coach, realized that the relay would be hurried and not chest high to Renteria. Perhaps he would have sent Perez. The Foxtrot clock again from 1st to 3rd. And the clock's still running. And the Cardinals are hoping it's going to still be running after this game, but right now it does not look good for the Redbirds.
2nd and 3rd, 2 out. And a visit from Dave Duncan. First base open. Timlin ready in the bullpen if needed, but it will be Hampton against Ventura. This sellout crowd at Shea wants to see the Mets deliver a right cross to the chin. Ball 1, low and away.
And before that pitch, Perez at third base broke toward home, causing Hampton to hurry his move. Bobby Valentine loves an animated guy at third when the pitcher's in his windup or stretch, particularly in the windup.
Now it's 2-0 with Zeal waiting on deck. Does Hampton guide one back into the hitting zone? Nope, 3-0.
He'll probably throw a high fastball away and hope that Ventura, who's an experienced hitter, swings at it.
That missed, and it's ball 4 to load the bases for Zeal. 5th walk by Hampton tonight. And now the decision.
Number 9.
That would lead you to believe that Hampton will stay out there with Timlin ready in the bullpen. Fans and media alike have been questioning the pitching decisions by that Cardinal dugout throughout this series. Decisions with the starters, decisions with the relievers, decisions with McGuire. Bases loaded here, 2 out. Zeal waiting and taking strike 1. Perez, Piazza, and Ventura aboard. Too far away, and it's 1-1. Last night, Zeal hit with the bases loaded in the 2nd inning and delivered a double, scoring a couple of runs. He was later tagged out at the plate to end the 2nd inning, and by that point, the Mets led 7-2. Here they lead 3-0 with the bases loaded, 2 out. And a 1-1 from Hampton. 2 balls and a strike. Two and 2.
Key pitch right here in this at bat. And Hampton gets the low strike.
Two-two pitch. Into right center field. Into the gap. Off the wall. Perez scores. Piazza scores. Here comes Ventura. 3-run double for Zeal. 6-0 Mets. Zeal with his finger in his left ear as the extra row of speakers are absolutely making this place shake with joy. And this wall banger off the bat of Zeal plates 3 and busts it open. 6-0 here in the 4th inning.
Joe, I have announced in this stadium for 21 years, and I have never felt this booth shaking until tonight. And I mean literally shaking.
Facing Timlin. And again, you can trace the trouble in this inning back to the misplay by Renteria on a ball that was ruled a hit. His low throw started trouble, and these Mets have to give them credit for taking advantage of these Cardinal mistakes. Well, it's loud up here, Bob Brenly. What's it sound like down there on the field?
Well, as you guys know, the Jets taking off from LaGuardia just across the way here. Generally, the fans have to hold their ears when the Jets go over. I think the pilots are holding their ears as they fly over the stadium.
The pitch is low from Timlin. It's 3-0. This booth was just bouncing up and down.
Nelson Doubleday, the co-owner of the Mets.
Timlin gets a strike. It's 3-1.
It was Nelson Doubleday who purchased the New York Mets back in 1979 for $21.1 million.
Full count on Akbayani. The Mets have talked about wanting to be the first team from New York this season stamping their ticket for the World Series. The Yankees have to win one more game. The Mariners will try to win the final 2 games here in New York. As Akbayani cracks one foul. And if the Mets win here tonight, baseball is one step closer to a possible Subway Series.
The way things are going here tonight, start spreading the news.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Akbayani stays alive. The New York Mets, 2-time world champions in their history. 69 and 86. Trying for the 4th time to win the National League pennant. 69, 73, 86. 3-2 to Akbayani is low. That's the 6th walk handed to the Mets tonight.
Joe, you mentioned the first World Championship. That was their second in '86, but their first one in 1969. This is the 31st anniversary of them winning their first World Championship. Davey Johnson flying out to Cleon Jones for the 3rd out in Game 5 against Baltimore.
2 on, 2 out here for Jay Payton. Grounds it foul. Talk about a distinct home field advantage here at Shea Stadium, an older ballpark. Been playing baseball here since 1964, and opposing players don't like coming in here. Now they've added those extra speakers in center field, and I'm telling you, Metallica doesn't have a sound system like this.
No.
I mean, that is power out there in center field. And this ballpark literally is shaking when they crank the music here at Shea Stadium. A tough place to play. To his left, Renteria. A good play to end the 4th inning. But a misplay by Renteria started trouble. Zeal delivered The bases loaded, 3-run double. That started the trouble. That finished the trouble. After 4, 6-0 Mets. A 6-0 New York lead. Now the 5th inning. Joe Buck and Tim McCarver with you. This is why the Mets went out and got Mike Hampton. They gave him the ball in Game 1 of the regular season. They gave him the ball in Game 1 of the division series. They gave him the ball in Game 1 of this series. He was a winner. He's pitching terrific baseball here tonight. Now he has a 6-run lead. The Mets are rolling at this point and thinking of their first World Series since 1986.
Bob said before the game that this could be his signature game and the perfect time to pitch a good game, being a free agent this fall. Has he ever delivered? Not only in Game 1, the Cardinals haven't scored against him yet. 7 shutout innings in Game 1 and 4 here tonight.
1 ball, no strikes on Langford. Now 1-1. "13 consecutive scoreless innings in this postseason." He was the loser in that Game 1 of the division series. 5-1. Langford in the hole, 1-2. Bottom 3 in the order. Carlos Hernandez will follow, and then a pinch hitter. Langford's gone, and that's strikeout number 5. The St. Paul Company's trivia question. Cardinals won their last World Championship in 1982. Who was the World Series most valuable player? You should know this.
Well, I said Willie McGee.
No.
I guessed. It's not McGee. Darryl Porter.
Fellow catcher.
I did forget. When you said that, I should have known, and I was going to change my guess to Keith Hernandez. Would have been wrong too.
Traded away the next year to the Mets. Part of their mid-'80s success, mid to late '80s. And that rivalry which took place between these two organizations, both former members of the National League East. Cardinals winning in '85, Mets winning in '86 and winning the World Championship. Cardinals winning in '87, losing in the World Series that year to Minnesota. Hernandez to third, Ventura across the infield. The Mets are 1 out closer. 2 out here in the top of the 5th.
And the Mets have come a long way, baby. Since 1962, the St. Louis Cardinals were the first team that the New York Mets played back in 1962. And the Mets lost that game, and they opened the season losing their first 9 games on their way to losing 120 games. And that was and is a major league record.
They finished 60.5 games behind the Giants. 2 out, nobody on, and Tatis takes a ball high. 60.5 out as Britt Reams cranks it up. 3rd time he has warmed in this game. 2-0 on the pinch hitter Tatis, batting for Timlin, who went 1/3 of an inning, walked 1, and got a ground out.
Fast forward to 1969, September 15th. The year that the Mets won the World Championship. Steve Carlton struck out 19 and lost the game. He was the first pitcher to ever strike out 19 and lost 4-3 on 2 two-run home runs by Ron Swoboda in St. Louis.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Tatis.
The New York Mets clinched the pennant against the St. Louis Cardinals that year. The last 2 outs were made on a ground ball double play hit by Joe Torre.
3-2. Casey Stengel was the manager back in 1962. Roger Craig led that team in wins with 10 and losses with 24. These fans loving it. And according to Casey Stengel in 1962, they start him young around here.
Now I'll have to say another thing about it. They're sticking with us. We've got them from the babies up. As soon as the kid could talk, he started to say Metzi, Metzi, not Papa, not Mama, Metzi, Metzi, Metzi. So that's what they are. They're now singing the kids, Metzi, Metzi, Metzi. See, when they want food and everything.
The Bud 1 airship and its eye in the sky camera are proud to provide you with these live shots 1,000 feet above New York and Shea Stadium. Windy night. And here's the rookie Britt Reams. So good in the postseason so far for Tony La Russa in 3 games. 1 in this NLCS, 4 in the 3rd innings, picking up Rick Ankiel in game 2. And he misses with ball 1 to Mike Bordick. 1-1.
Only run that Reams gave up in game 2 was a home run, an opposite field home run to Mike Piazza in that 4 and a 3rd innings.
Strike 2 on Bordick. 0 for 11 in this series. Up the middle, and the first base hit for Bordick in this series.
Mike Bordick with his first hit of the series. A single up the middle, and one would assume Mike Hampton will be bunting. You don't know for sure, but with a 6-run lead, I would think Bobby Valentine would want to keep him off the bases. Probably a straight bunt right here. Whoa.
The crowd won't like that, neither will these Mets, as Hampton is dumped by the rookie Reams.
You can't see why that's intentional, but you can see the padding that Hampton wears on that left arm. There are very few hitters in Major League Baseball history who have been left-handed throwers and right-handed batters. But Hampton wearing that padding for obvious reasons.
The bunt in the air, that won't do anything except produce the first out in the bottom of the 5th.
If Mike is hitting that lead arm, I mean, it could affect his career, and that's why he wears that padding. Bunts it high. Will Clark is there. Would have been interesting had Clark just let that ball drop and then thrown to Vigna covering. Perhaps you would have gotten Bordick hung up or let it drop and go to second base. Hampton wasn't running. He could have pulled off a double play.
Here's Perez, who is 2 out of 3. Now 316 in the postseason, and in this series, 7 out of 21. One on, one out. Ball 1. So he has tied the LCS record. Perez has with his 8-run scored, 2 in this game, 1 in the 1st and 1 in the 4th. He was the first one to tap dance across home plate when Zeal unloaded the bases with a double into right center. 1 on, 1 out, and a 1-0 pitch. 2 balls, no strikes. Having fun on a school night. Two and 1. Edgardo Alfonso waits on deck. Perez has certainly thrown his name into the running for the MVP of this NLCS.
I'll say
2-2. You've got Perez, you've got Alfonso, you've got Piazza. Hampton could end up winning 2 games as a starter. Mets leading 6-0 here in the 5th inning with a runner at first, 1 out. New York's out hit St. Louis 8-3. Cardinals have committed 2 errors. There could very well be 3 errors on the board in this game 5. Still 2-2. Valentine has been applauded for his moves in this postseason. Tony La Russa has been questioned with nearly every move he's made as Perez fouls it straight back, and it started with game 1 of the division series. Tony La Russa sending Darryl Kyle into the interview room prior to game 1 with that series against Atlanta. Kyle was ambiguous with his answers, and it was learned only after Kyle had left the ballpark, Ankiel had already left, that Ankiel would be the starter in game 1 and not Kyle. Ankiel can't throw the ball over the plate at this point. Kyle has been ineffective. Look at that throw by Clark. It pulls Renteria into the air. They get the 4-shot, and with Perez running wouldn't have turned 2 anyway. Kyle could have 2 losses hung up on him in this NLCS. Edgardo Alfonso walks in here to talk about the all-star second baseman, his manager Bobby Valentine, on his importance to this team.
Edgardo's influence is settling. It's settling to all, because he's a very good player and we know he's on our side, but he's also a guy who understands the game. He understands the arena of New York, and he understands this playoff situation.
He waits for the first from Rames, and it's scooped up by Hernandez, ball 1. Edgardo Alfonso, who was disappointed with the intensity of his teammates during and after game 3, the Saturday game, when Andy Benes shut down the Mets and the Cardinals won what is their only game so far in this NLCS, 8-2. He called on the bench players to get into the game a little more, his fellow starters to turn up the intensity a notch, and they came out ready in last night's game after falling behind 2-0 after a half inning. That bench was up and cheering on the top step. With the 4 consecutive doubles and 5 in the first inning thrown out there by these Mets. 2 balls and a strike on Alfonso. One out of 3 tonight, extending his postseason hitting streak to 11 games, going back to the NLCS last year. 2-2. One thing that was talked about coming into this series, the absence of the Atlanta Braves. They've been the stumbling block for these Mets the past couple of seasons. Over the last 3 years, the Mets 14-29 against Atlanta, 3-20 in their last 23 games in Atlanta, and the Cardinals surprised everyone and delighted the Mets by sweeping the Braves out of the playoffs, 3 games and out in the division series. Not surprising by the end result, the victory in the series, but the manner in which they did it. Alfonso up the middle, another hit. Perez will hold at second, 2 on, 2 out. And here are the Mets leading 6-0 in the 5th inning of game 5. merely outs away from their first trip to the World Series since 1986.
Yeah, Joe, you and I did the divisional game, the game won by Biniak Bayani in the 13th inning, 3-2. Benny winning it with a home run. And the Cardinals clinched against the Braves, winning game 3 down in Atlanta. And this crowd here at Shea went wild, realizing the implications of the Mets, who are playing right now. They could beat anybody the way they're playing right now. But at the time, that onus of the Braves was hanging over the folks at Shea.
2 on, 2 out. Piazza takes strike 1. Piazza has a home run in this series against Reams that Tim told you about back in game 2. Time called to the plate. Piazza tonight has walked and scored, grounded back to the pitcher, doubled and scored. That's out of play. 0-2. Game 4. That. Back of the bullpen off Mike James last night. His second of this series. 4th career in the postseason. Reams trying to pitch a scoreless 5th. Takes care of Piazza and the Mets. 2 hits, 2 left. The Mets have left 9. They've scored 6, and behind Mike Hampton here in game 5 leads St. Louis 6-0. Back to the hill is Mike Hampton. 6th inning now, 6-0 Mets. James Cameron, the director of The Terminator, brings you his new series Dark Angel tomorrow 9 Eastern, 8 Central, after all new episodes of That 70s Show and Titus here on Fox. Once again, coming up tomorrow night, game 6, the Mariners and the Yankees on NBC at 8 Eastern. The Yankees leading that series 3-2, and if necessary, Wednesday at 4 Eastern here on Fox, game 6 between the Mets and Cardinals in St. Louis. Promos all over the place in and around New York, in and around Shea Stadium, as Vigna takes a strike over the outside corner. Vigna's 1 out of 2. He has 1 of 3 singles tonight for St. Louis. That's it. Tony La Russa believing before the game that they would get to Hampton at some point. He shows no signs of any wear in this one as he gets one past Vigna. It's 0-2. Ball and 2 strikes.
Most of the time it is not a combination where a pitcher gets a lot of ground balls and strikes a lot of hitters out. But tonight Hampton has good control and strikeout stuff, and it's unusual for him to pitch like that.
Good start to the 6th inning for Mike Hampton. Strikeout number 7. Tony La Russa in the dugout for the Cardinals. First in the big leagues as a manager with the White Sox back in 1979. Was with the Oakland Athletics. 4 division titles, 3 pennants, a world championship in 1989. And as Polanco takes a strike, Tony La Russa came to St. Louis in 1996. His 5th year this year. His 2nd appearance the National League Championship Series, but in that first year that he had in a Cardinal uniform, a 3-1 series advantage over Atlanta. Some pitching rotation questions in that series as well. Starting pitchers on short rest. He ended up sending Donovan Osborne to the mound in Game 7 of that National League Championship Series. The look in his eyes told you before that thing started the Braves were going to the World Series.
No, the Cardinals did not score but 1 run in the last 3 games against Atlanta that year. The other 2 things you mentioned last inning, to me, they're not controversial. You can't look at 1 inning during this playoff series and tell me that Mark McGwire could have been used by Tony La Russa. That is a non-issue in my view.
It certainly becomes an issue when articles are written, call-in shows occur, and that's been the hot topic, as well as the starting pitching selection for last night's game, especially after the fact, after Darryl Kyle did what he did last night when he lasted only 3+ innings, allowing 7 runs on 8 hits. Holding Henkin back. Henkin did not start in the division series. He didn't start till Game 5 in this National League Championship Series. 16 days of rest. And he was searching for it in the first inning. Before you knew it, it was 3-0 Mets. The way Mike Hampton is pitching, that might prove to be enough. 1 out, nobody on, and a full count on Polanco.
Well, issues can be raised and controversies can be raised, but behind these you have to have substance. And as I said, if you look at every inning of every game during the playoffs, you can't tell me or any reasonable baseball fan that Mark McGwire should have been used. It is without substance. Now, last night I can understand that with Darryl Kyle working on 3 days rest. But along those lines, I'll ask you, John Q. Public, not you, Joe, but who do you go to? If this is going to work out to a 7-game series, to me, Darryl Kyle, and we talked about it before the game last night. I mean, Darryl Kyle on 3 days rest. What's wrong with 3 days rest? This has just gotten out of hand, really.
1 on, 1 out for Edmonds. And strike 1.
And if Tony had started Pat Henkin last night and he had lost, he would have been subjected to the same type of criticism. It's not fair.
But then the other argument could not be made that you're bringing Kyle back on short rest. You would have Kyle on at least closer to regular rest.
Right.
Coming back with the hope of getting this series back to St. Louis, which is the strongest argument made along those lines that you're talking about, the McGwire arguments, the starting pitching arguments that are made, as Edmonds takes ball 1 up and away, 1 ball, 1 strike. And certainly after the fact, it looks like the wrong decision with the way Kyle pitched and his history on 3 days rest. And some very good starting pitchers in the big leagues and their lack of success on 3 days rest the last 2 seasons in the postseason. Two balls and a strike. The past 2 postseasons, 8 pitchers have thrown on 3 days rest. Combined, no wins, and an ERA of 19.11. Darryl Kyle did nothing to help those figures. 2 balls and a strike, 1 on, 1 out. 2-2 now on Edmonds, who has struck out twice tonight against Hampton. But behind all of those decisions, the injury to Garrett Stevenson, who was a strong starter for the Cardinals all year, and the unexpected wildness on the part of Rick Ankiel, which has changed the plans coming into this series as Edmonds strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. Out of the other dugout, There's Bobby Valentine, who managed his first game in the big leagues against Tony La Russa. He had this to say about his counterpart in this series.
His imprints on every game that he manages. Of all the guys that I manage against, I've managed against Tony the most, so I'm most comfortable, I think, with what he does. I know what he's going to do, even though he's unpredictable. I respect what he does. I think he's really as good at what he does as anybody in baseball.
1 on, 2 out. Now Eric Davis takes a ball up and away. The loss of Stevenson, who had to leave Game 3 of that division series, a 16-game winner during the regular season, and then the complete meltdown by Ankiel in Game 2 of this LCS, raised questions not only about Game 4, but then the start by Henkin in Game 5, and then even if the Cardinals get to a Game 6, they have to bring Andy Bennis back on short rest, and he's bothered by tendonitis in his right knee. It's been the Mets in this series, and tonight, bottom of the 6th inning, they lead by 6. We remind you to watch Game 4 of the World Series here on Fox for the $1 million Gillette Strike Zone Challenge. It looks more and more like Game 4 of this upcoming World Series will be right here at Shea. Games 1 and 2 will be in the American League City, either the Bronx or Seattle. Ventura into center for Edmonds. 1 away. Ventura retired for the first time tonight. It brings in Robin Ventura's carpool mate, coming to the ballpark for most of the season, Todd Zeile. Ventura and Zeile riding to the ballpark together day after day. Zeile just drove Ventura around the bases and to the plate. Perez, Piazza, Ventura to make it 6-0. So it was Todd's turn to drive.
One good drive deserves another.
Strike 1 from Britt Reams.
He was in the express lane with that last ball he hit to right center.
Cut right through the wind and off the wall in right center field. 1-1. One and 2 on Zeile. Agbayani next, 2-2. Todd Zeile has driven in 8 runs in this series, after driving in none in the division series. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Benny Agbayani is on deck. You saw that big number 50. He wears number 50 because obviously he's from Hawaii, and Hawaii, our 50th state.
That's backing out of play.
Funny about how Major League Baseball players are influenced by different people. Family, friends, Little League coaches. Benny with a warm story to tell about his influence coming up and being brought up on the island of Oahu.
Meanwhile, 3 balls, 2 strikes on Zeile. A 1-out walk, and here's Benny Agbayani on his aunt's influence.
I used to have an aunt who used to be out there when I was little every day, throwing me the ball, and she always used to throw as hard as she could, and I had to catch it. And we would be out there all, until the sun went down, and she took me up to the track, made me run. I knew what she was trying to do, and she kind of told me, if you want to become a great player, you got to work. work at it. And, you know, now I know what she's talking about.
Then he breaks his bat and flies to center into the glove of Edmonds. And the graduate from St. Louis High School in Hawaii is back to the dugout after making the second out here in the bottom of the sixth.
Come on, Jay. All that hard work has certainly paid off.
Agbayani, a young man who had to choose between football and baseball, obviously made the correct decision. And he has had one guy firmly in his corner since he first laid eyes on him, and that was Bobby Valentine. In the minor leagues, he was the AAA manager back in '96. Valentine was in this Met organization. He liked the way the ball jumped off the bat of Agbayani, but thought he needed a little more pop. Introduced him to a high leg kick, that leg kick that he uses here. When he gets into a ball, he can thump it. 1 on, 2 out, 1 ball, no strikes on Jay Payton. 1-1. I understand people are lining up and forming lines outside Shea Stadium, hoping to get their hands on World Series tickets. Renteria takes care of the force out at second off the bat of Payton. And we go to the 7th. Still 6-0 Mets. Back after this from your local Fox station. Top of the 7th inning, Hampton back to work. 6-0 the Mets lead. Some work went into that sign, believing that tonight would be the night the Mets would advance to the World Series. They lead by 6, and tonight, immediately after the game, turn to Fox Sports Net for a special edition of the National Sports Report, live from Shea Stadium. Keith Olbermann and Steve Lyons give you complete post-game coverage, including highlights, interviews, and analysis of the entire National League Championship Series. The National Sports Report tonight after the game on Fox Sports Net. We will have the trophy presentation, the MVP award presentation, the celebration right here if it ends tonight. And again, the Cardinals have 9 outs left to try to make something happen against Mike Hampton. So far, they haven't been able to put anything together. A single in the first, a single in the third, a single in the fourth, and a 1-out walk in the 6th inning. That's it. Clark pops up. Left field, Agbayani. Wynn playing around with that baseball. 1 out here in the 7th. The Seattle Mariners have already proven that they can defeat the New York Yankees 3 in a row in the postseason. They did that back in 1995 in the division series to advance to the LCS, eventually losing to the Cleveland Indians, who would lose to the Atlanta Braves in the World Series. But that was before the Yankees run, which started in '96, as the Yankees have won 3 of the last 4 World Championships. The starters in Game 6, Orlando Hernandez, who in this postseason is 2-0, and in his postseason career is 7-0, with an ERA of 1.76 this postseason, will take on John Halama, who in 6 innings of Game 2 allowed no runs. That's tomorrow at 8 Eastern on NBC. If the Yankees get past the Mariners, and if there is a Subway Series, the Mets are trying to be the first team to stamp their ticket for that. If there is a Subway Series, it would be the first since 1956. In for a strike on Renteria, 1-2.
That was the year of Don Larson's perfect game. Brooklyn Dodgers only won 1 World Championship. That was 1955. Johnny Padres pitching the 7th game of the series. Famous catch by Sandy Amoros, doubling off. Ball hit by Yogi Berra. The double play in the 8th inning. Don Zimmer, a starter in that game, and now the bench coach for Joe Torre.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Renteria. That's off the plate. Ventura coming to get it. Big-handed pick up and throw. 2 out. What a play by Robin Ventura.
Usually you do not see a bare hand on a ball hit this high. The ball took a tricky little hop, and Ventura adjusting to it and throws out Renteria. What a play. Watch the ball hop to the left, his right. Off balance throw. Fine play.
Boy, if the Yankees indeed face the Mets in the World Series, it will be a World Series which will highlight 2 third basemen who come in on the ball. Probably the best in the big leagues in today's game. And Robin Ventura for the Mets, Scott Brocious for the Yankees.
No argument here.
2 up, 2 down in the 7th inning. And Hampton is just too much tonight for St. Louis. 0-2 on Langford. Rick Ankiel getting loose for the Cardinals in the bullpen. To me, it would be awfully risky to bring Ankiel into this atmosphere. I'm sure Tony La Russa will tell you it can't get much worse than what happened in Game 2. They're going to have to rebuild starting in spring training with Ankiel's confidence. But he's getting loose right now. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Langford rolls 1 to first. Zeal on the other end, and the Cardinals go in order. Mike Hampton saying before the game he was ready to pitch the game of his life. So far, making good on that promise. Time to stretch. 6-0 Mets. Well, here in the bottom of the 7th inning, while some of the men and women who entertain on the field between innings exit behind home plate, one of them just had to duck from a ball coming back to the backstop from Rick Ankiel. And anybody with any compassion, whoever they root for, has to hope that Ankiel has an uneventful 7th inning. Here's pitching coach Dave Wallace for the Mets.
I hope our fans do the right thing if the same thing happens.
Hoping that if Ankiel has those same troubles as fans, do the right thing, and that's a good start. A fastball just poured into Mike Bordick. Eli Marrero now catching as Hernandez is finished for the rest of the night.
You don't know what Ankiel's going to do, but I do think it's a good move by Tony La Russa. Instead of allowing this to fester, his 2 performances against Atlanta and against the Mets, if there is a continuation of that, there's no more damage done than there was. But if he comes in with an inning or 2, retires the Mets in order, and perhaps ending the season on a positive note.
3 balls and a strike.
Classic comment from Dave Wallace, though.
And to be expected from a guy like Dave Wallace.
Exactly.
3 balls and a strike on Bordick with Hampton, the pitcher, next. And a leadoff walk. Who can forget the control trouble for Ankiel in Game 2? He lasted only 2/3 of an inning. That was his first pitch to Perez. A couple of wild pitches mixed in to go with these out of the strike zone. And after 2/3 of an inning, Britt Reams was pitching. Now, after Reams is finished, it's Ankiel coming in, and Mike Hampton tiptoeing into the batter's box and getting a bunt down. That wasn't easy. And the sacrifice good. 3-4.
You're right, not an easy task for Hampton. With Ankiel's recent history of wildness. High fastball, nicely done by Hampton. And I'm sure at Bobby Valentine is just happy that Hampton got out of there without getting injured.
Timo Perez will dig in now. We showed you that first pitch that Ankiel unleashed in Game 2 was at the head of Perez, who eventually struck out in what looked like a situation where he was more or less taking on 3-2.
Yeah.
Runner at second, 1 out, 6-0 Mets, bottom of the 7th inning. You called it in Game 2 electric stuff. And you don't have to know much about baseball to watch Rick Ankiel pitch and compare him to others that you see even in a postseason game. And see how talented this 21-year-old can be. On the outside corner, a ball and a strike.
And Rick walked 99 this season. Struck out 194 to break Dizzy Dean's rookie strikeout record for the Cardinals, set in 1932.
Now 1-2 on Perez.
But as we said earlier, if he can successfully negotiate his way through this inning, something positive to take back to Fort Pierce, which is right around the Vero Beach area in Florida on the East Coast. Joe said the other night he went to Port St. Lucie High School. That's where the Mets train and have trained for the last 13 years.
Breaking ball got him looking.
Oh, and that's an idea. Now keep in mind, Sandy Koufax really didn't become a pitcher until 1959. And he won 14 ball games that year. And yes, you can talk about Koufax and Ankiel as far as Steph is concerned in the same breath.
Koufax, who has been a visitor to Shea Stadium during this postseason. Here's Alfonso, runner at second, 2 out. And a ball down and in. The SAP game summary. Alfonso, more hits for the Mets. An 11-game postseason hitting streak alive. Timo Perez, 2 runs, 8 in the series to tie an LCS record. Zeal, a 3-run double with 2 out in the 4th inning to take it from 3-0 to 6-0. Not much of a swing there by Alfonso in the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. And then the work of Mike Hampton, who has been in charge tonight after a leadoff hit by Vina. He's allowed no runs on only 3 St. Louis hits. The SAP game summary. Now the 1-1 pitch to Alfonso. There's the first one. Back to the screen, and this crowd getting a kick out of ball 2 to Alfonso. These fans jumped out of their seat when that pitch went back to the backstop.
As an impassive Dave Wallace looks on with empathy.
Runner in third, another wild pitch. Here comes Bordick, 7-0. The 21-year-old Rick Ankiel, and this atmosphere at Shea Stadium. 2 wild pitches, a walk in the inning. He guides one back into the hitting zone, and it's a full count on Alfonso. After the game, stay with us. The post-game celebration, presentation of the National League Championship Series trophy, and the MVP presentation. 7-0 Mets here in the 7th. 2 out, nobody on, 3-2 to Alfonso. Down the right field line, and that'll get well out of play.
To Edgardo Alfonso, the fastball misses inside. Then the wild pitch on the 1-1 pitch. Another one scores Bordick. Then Ankiel comes back to throw 2 straight strikes.
Ball forward, floats up and away with 2 out. Second walk of the inning to go with 2 wild pitches. A postseason record for Rick Ankiel, and something he wants no part of. 9 wild pitches in a career. A postseason record. And Ankiel got 2 outs, able to smile a little as Mike James comes in from the Cardinal bullpen.
This is some way of finding some positive. But he's no worse off. He's no worse off. He is not any worse off.
Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Yes. I was inside. I was actually inside the little.
Well, let's talk about Rick Ankiel again. I know many will question Tony La Russa bringing Rick Ankiel in this atmosphere, as we talked about when he entered in the bottom of the 7th inning. He issued a leadoff walk, threw 2 wild pitches during the at-bat of Edgardo Alfonso, eventually walked him. He's gone. He struck out Perez during the inning. He gives way to Mike James, and the question will be, did that further damage the psyche of Rick Ankiel heading toward the offseason?
Well, I guess it's an arguable point, but my view is he could not have been worse off had he not pitched tonight. I mean, if he goes back to Florida with those 2 appearances and that dreadful appearance in St. Louis, to me, he's worse off than trying to find something positive out of tonight's performance. It was interesting, Joe, to see him go back to the dugout. The Cardinal teammates shaking his hand, patting him on the back, almost like a field goal kicker who had missed a very important 3-point try in the Super Bowl.
I don't know that Scott Norwood got that kind of consolation. 2 balls, no strikes. But I think as you are talking about, the hope was to get anything positive out of one last appearance before the offseason. He made some good pitches, but again, showed that wildness, something that hasn't been a problem for him, even in the short while he was up in the big leagues at the end of last year. And nothing to this extent during the regular season his rookie year. But Tony La Russa giving him a shot here at Shea Stadium in Game 5. And he ends up with 2 more walks and 2 more wild pitches and 9 in his postseason career, which is a record already. 3-1 now on Piazza.
And you'll notice Rick Ankiel, when he went back to the Cardinals bench after coming out of the ballgame, immediately going to Mike Matheny, the injured regular season catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think we can overstate how much the Cardinals have missed Mike Matheny in this series.
That's him in the jacket next to Ankiel. 3 balls and a strike on Piazza. And again, if you're just joining us, you don't know the story behind Mike Matheny and why he's on the bench. Was opening a birthday present late one night or early in the morning after a long flight home back from San Diego. He was by himself. He opened up a present. It was a hunting knife, something, by the way, that he doesn't really collect. He was putting it back in its sheath, and it cut right through the sheath and right into the ring finger on his right hand, severing tendons and damaging a nerve. Piazza reaching for it, pops it up. James and the Cardinals out of the 7th, and as we go to the 8th inning here at Chase Stadium, the Mets on top now, 7-0. Of those 7, the Yankees won 6, and that was the Dodgers' only win.
Home locker room hard mic. Home locker room hard mic. Bill Webb, you were trying to reach me? Yeah, I got you. Okay, I'm going to continue. Call me on radio if you need me.
Technicians. Get back, Eddie.
Mike Hampton to work in the 8th inning. He has 8 strikeouts tonight. Some of the ways that he piled them up here in Game 5.
Joe and I talked earlier about how Mike Hampton is not a strikeout pitcher. His career high is 12 Ks. Normally a ground ball pitcher, but tonight has belonged totally to Mike Hampton.
Everything down, down, down from Hampton with movement on it. Eli Marrero, his first at bat since taking over behind the plate for Carlos Hernandez. Cardinals bringing in a more athletic catcher when they brought in Rick Ankiel. That's a bad sign.
Yep.
You need a guy who can jump. If you worry about the vertical leap of your catcher when you bring in a pitcher, it's not a good sign.
Which is what Tony La Russa told us is the reason that Marrero caught it Ankiel in Game 2 and then brought him in tonight.
2 balls and a strike from Hampton pitching in the 8th, leading by 7 now, 2-2. Into center, right at Peyton, 1 out. What do you see from Mike Hampton tonight, Bob?
Well, it was very obvious early in the game that he had his good fastball. He had great control of that fastball. And as the game has gone on, his curve has gotten better. His sinking fastball has gotten better. And he's actually mixed in some changeups in the last couple of innings. He's got everything working right now. But initially, he just had the fastball and worked everything else off of that.
Sean Dunston will come off the bench and pinch hit. 3 out of 6 in the postseason so far. Dunston, then Vina against Hampton. Already a cheer referring to the Yankees starting to escape from this crowd here at Shea Stadium. The Mariners will have a lot to say about who the Mets will play in the World Series if they end up winning tonight. To stamp their ticket and send them to the Fall Classic for the first time since '86. They're 1 out closer, it would appear, as Zeal puts it away, 2 out. You go back to last year, and these Mets were in the National League Championship Series Game 6. They had been down 5-0 in the first inning. They tied the game 7-7, but in Game 6, the bases loaded walk to Andrew Jones. Kenny Rogers had walked 3 batters that inning, sent the Braves to the World Series. 4 games for the Braves after that. More frustration for Atlanta and their fans as the Yankees won their 25th World Championship. Fernando Vina with 2 out, nobody on, took ball 1. Vina 1 out of 3 tonight. That's foul. 1-1.
Joe, you mentioned the Seattle Mariners. Keep in mind that Freddie Garcia and company, the bullpen included, shut out the Yankees in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. And as you mentioned, John Halama and the bullpen held the Yankees scoreless for the first 7 innings of that game at Yankee Stadium.
Until a 7-run outburst in the 8th inning, a victory in Game 2. Victories in Game 3 and 4, and right now these fans at Shea, if you look at their series on the scoreboard, applauding these Mets who lead 3-1. 7-0, 8th inning. To his right, Alfonso, bottom of the 8th. $7-0 Mets. Back at Chase Stadium, a shot of Steve Phillips, the general manager without a contract around here, the architect putting this Mets club together. These fans here at Chase Stadium have had fun since the start of this night. Heck, since the bottom of the first inning of last night. Robin Ventura will lead it off. He'll be followed by Zeal and Agbayani.
National League Championship team with a general manager without a contract and a manager without a contract.
Ventura leading it off and taking ball 1. Dave Fears is the new pitcher for St. Louis. Henkin started, went 3 2/3. Then Timlin a third of an inning. Reams, Ankiel, James, and now Fears. Solid closer this season for St. Louis. The count 2-0. J.D. Drew takes over out in right. Ventura pops it into shallow center. Renteria, 1 out. Todd Zeal walks in. One of the single biggest swings of this night and of this series. Back in the 4th inning with the bases loaded 2 out. It was 3-0 Mets. The way Mike Hampton has pitched since the start, it didn't look like he and the Mets would need much more than 3 runs, if they would at all. But Todd Zeal delivered that right cross to the chin of his former organization. He bats with 1 out, nobody on, and jumps back from ball 1. Mike Hampton, the winner in Game 1, on his way to a win in Game 5. 1 out, nobody on, 1 ball, no strikes. Zeal takes strike 1. Post-game celebration after this game, then the presentation of the NLCS trophy, the MVP presentation. You could have 3 or 4 entries on that list for the MVP of this series. A 1-1 is high, 2 balls and a strike. Timo Perez, what he's done in this series. Mike Piazza over 400, 2 home runs, and Mike Hampton. He's pitched 15 shutout innings with 12 strikeouts. He might have 2 of the 4 wins for the Mets in this league championship series. That's into right, playable for Drew. Fresh into the game. 2 out.
You could throw Edgardo Alfonso into that mix also. Alfonso batting close to 500. The Mets have had many heroes in this 5-game series against the Cardinals.
If there is a Subway Series, it would be the 14th overall. Some of them come with a little asterisk. You go back to 1921, 1922. The Giants and Yankees met. They shared the same ballpark, the Polo Grounds, before Yankee Stadium was first occupied by the Yankees in 1923. And even then, the Yankees and Giants went head-to-head, and all you had to do was walk over a bridge. But there have been 13 overall, none since 1956. And during a 10-year stretch between 1947 and 1956, 10 years, there were 7 Subway Series. Lenny Harris having fun. On Bayani with a 2-out base hit. That keeps his hitting streak alive. He's hit in every game in this postseason, and he's on with 2 outs. This is a look ahead, and this is obviously a look ahead if they play the Yankees. And again, this comes with the huge disclaimer that the Seattle Mariners could very well win 2 more games over the Yankees. They won Game 5, and again, they've proven they can beat the Yankees in the postseason 3 straight back in '95. Mets have never faced the Seattle Mariners, so we can't do much of a head-to-head matchup there. But since interleague play began, the Mets are 7-11 against the Yankees. Here's Jay Payton, 1 out of 4. 1 on, 2 out. Strike 1 on Payton. During that stretch with a 7 Subway Series over that 10-year span, the first one during that stretch was 1947. Bobby Valentine's father-in-law, Ralph Branca, opened the 47 series at Yankee Stadium for the Dodgers and lost. Now Branca's son-in-law, Bobby Valentine, could guide the Mets to the World Series for the first time since 1986. During that 10-year span, the city of New York just took over the game of baseball. Those fall classics here, 7 of those 10 years. Neighborhoods divided, households divided. Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for?
Stoops were divided.
And that may be the case again. The Mets and Yankees, or the Mets and the Mariners. Yankees lead their best-of-7 series 3 games to 2, with Game 6 tomorrow night on NBC at 8 Eastern. And the Mariners will be trying to send it to a Game 7. They'll be dealing with Orlando Hernandez and the good young left-hander John Halama pitching for the Mariners. Here's the 0-2 to Payton. Almost hit him. He almost offered at it. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Joe, we talked about it earlier. The Brooklyn Dodgers, the only series that they won, 1955. The Yankees won all of the other ones. In those 10 years, the Yankees winning 6 times.
Dodgers and Giants left. Their team colors combined to make the Mets team colors. Oh, off the helmet, and Jay Payton goes out to talk to Veers and Eli Marrero, trying to avoid a riot. Now Veers reaches in and pushes Payton, and hopefully here in the 8th inning in a 7-0 game, a brawl won't mar what has been a fun night here at Shea Stadium. Blood on the face of Jay Payton as he took that pitch off the head. Benny Agbayani, the one with his arms wrapped firmly around Jay Payton. They're able to calm him down. And the New York Mets, in my mind, are to be commended as cooler heads prevail. And now the attention, forget what could be a fight. You hope that Jay Payton's all right.
Jay appears to be all right. Going out to the mound as quickly as he did. He never lost consciousness. And this is one of the more surprising predicaments. Out of nowhere, Dave Veer's fastball veered inside and hit Jay Payton. And as you could see right near the eye, a frightening scene. And you talk about net cooler heads prevailing. Everyone hoping that the fans here at Shea, that cooler heads prevail here.
Veers didn't help matters with that little push.
Nope.
After Payton, it seemed, was restrained. See that ball jump in. Sounded awful. Thankfully, Payton able to get right back up. Just above the left eye.
Well, we'll take a look at the sequence of those pitches. There were several splitters away during that at bat. The first pitch, one of them, and then again with the splitter. Another one fouled off. And now Veers coming inside and now way inside to hit him. Boy, that's just frightening.
Eli Marrero immediately popped up and got in between Veers and Jay Payton. Gianfranco on his way back to the bullpen as finally order is restored. And you're right, the Mets deserve a lot of credit for making sure that that didn't escalate. And now you hope that these fans, who to this point are merely using their voices to show their displeasure, keep it that way. And Bobby Valentine will come out, talk to Bruce Fleming, and hopefully this will end right here. But it certainly leaves a nasty taste in your mouth here.
It really does.
In what should very well be the final game of this National League Championship Series, Game 5. With the Mets leading 7-0 and in complete control. Veers hitting Jay Payton in the helmet.
Anytime you come inside to a hitter, there is a danger, obviously. Jay with that lump over his left eye, bleeding. I can't even conceive any intent to hit Jay Payton in that situation.
Certainly wouldn't make any sense.
No.
Earlier in the game, Mike Hampton was knocked down by a pitch from Britt Reams in the 5th inning. That drew a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, but you know, Hampton hasn't even come close to a Cardinal hitter in his two starts in the LCS.
There's just nothing there that you can point to as an explanation, if you want to call that intentional.
Mike Piazza hit in the head by Roger Clemens back on July 8th. Mike almost shaking his head right there.
Polanco makes a nice play to his right down the line, and this crowd lets these Cardinals have it. The Mets are now 3 outs away from a trip to the World Series. Well, this game goes to the 9th inning. The Mets are 3 outs away from the 2000 World Series. Let's send it down into the Mets dugout where Steve Lyons is. Steve.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. I'm down in the corner of the dugout. We watched the replay of Peyton getting hit in the head. I watched it with Mike Piazza. He was very upset about it, saying that there's no reason for a ball to be up in that area of the head. He said that ball almost went behind him if he didn't get out of the way. And of course, remember, Mike Piazza got hit by a Roger Clemens fastball early in the year. He's going to get a chance to see another one of those Roger Clemens fastballs probably in the World Series if the Yankees get that far. But Piazza's very upset. Back to you guys.
Another look at Peyton getting hit. Piazza hit on July 8th. Beers in the dugout. And Hampton back on the mound. He will deal with Paquette, who will bat for Polanco. Then McGuire standing in the on-deck circle. He'll bat for Edmonds. Joe McEwing takes over in right field. Timo Perez goes to center as his strike is on the inside corner. And in the end, with that situation with Peyton, all that matters now is that Peyton's all right. Paquette in the air to left. Agbayani, 1 out. Well, this game 5 is not going to end with Mark McGuire on the bench, as game 1 did, as last night's game did. McGuire dealing with Hampton. McGuire 4 out of 23 in his career against Mike Hampton. 1 out, nobody on. To the second baseman, Alfonso. The Mets are 1 out away.
Number 29, Rick Wilkins.
Rick Wilkins will bat in the number 4 spot and hit with 2 out, nobody on, facing Hampton. Hampton saying he was ready to pitch the game of his life before this game 5. He has done that. No runs, only 3 hits. 7-0 Mets, 9th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mike Hampton, the winner in game 1. 7 shutout innings. Trying to throw a 3-hit shutout here in game 5. Three balls and a strike.
Good sign there and a great sight. Jay Hampton appears to be all right. Jay Payton, I beg your pardon.
Hampton with a count of 3-1. For the first time since 1986, the Mets are going to the World Series. And so are these fans. And before the rest of this night gets away from us, congratulations to these Mets. And Tim McCarver, congratulations to these fans here at Shea Stadium, who were tremendous with the way they acted here tonight. Let's go down to Steve Lyons.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. I got Robin Ventura here. You played a lot of baseball. I've watched you play. I played with you, but when you scored and you came off the field, I've never seen you so emotional before.
Yeah, it's a big night, and it's something when you play and you get a chance to go. You know, this is what you play for, and this is what you put all the hard work in for.
This town is going to go upside down. If it becomes a Subway Series, who do you want to see?
You know what? We're happy to go right now. It'd be nice to stay home, though.
No question about Bobby Valentine and all the heat he's taken in this town. Talk to me a little bit about the job that he's done with this club since he's been here.
You know, he's done a great job. I think he rests guys and he plays a lot of guys. And having been in the American League so long and National League, guys on the bench have to play. And you don't always like it, but he's able to do it, and he does a great job of doing that.
No way did you guys want to go back to St. Louis. Hampton comes in and absolutely shuts him down for 2 games in this series for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's done an unbelievable job. I mean, our pitchers are the reason why we're here. And, you know, we just score enough offense to get going, but our pitchers are the ones that do it.
You're going to the World Series. What's that feel like, man?
That feels awesome. I can't believe it.
All right, go celebrate with your guys. All right. All right, Joe and Tim, we'll send it back up to you guys.
All right, Steve. Sometimes Bobby Valentine is called Top Step Bobby. A guy who has taken his shots for getting on the field time after time. Interesting to note that he stayed in the dugout while his players celebrated on the field as they take a victory lap around the field here at Shea.
Joe, I was in a Cardinal uniform in 1969 when the Mets clinched the pennant against the Cardinals, and I can't remember it being this big.
Let's go back down to Steve Lyons.
All right, got another one of the heroes here for the Mets, Benny Agbayani. And Benny, but this is a long way from AAA a couple years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, I worked my butt off, you know, just to be in this place and to make my dreams come true.
One of the guys that always believed in you was Bobby Valentine. He gave you the opportunity to play for this team, and you certainly didn't let him down.
Yeah, you know, he gave me the opportunity, and he believed in me, and I wanted to show that, you know, he was right, and I had to go out there and prove myself.
What was the difference in this series for you guys, swinging the bat so much better than you did in the divisional series?
You know, I think, you know, when we went to the divisional series, I think we were just getting ready for this.
Are you ready for what's coming up next? You're going to the World Series.
I'm ready for anything right now, but I'm going to celebrate first.
All right, go do that. Go celebrate. All right, Joe, let's go back to you guys.
All right, Steve. Our thanks to Robin Ventura and Benny Agbayani for standing by Steve. Their teammates on that lap around the field still celebrating. Congratulations to Bobby Valentine and the New York Mets. Their fourth pennant here with the Mets. They win it in the year 2000. We'll come back with post-game celebrations after this.
Two. And we're going to do it in 2 minutes. This is the symbolic stuff. This is the dull part of the celebration. Wait till we get they'll get the trophy wet.
Hello. Okay.
Just us again. All right, they're going to start letting people, and they are letting people in. I think we better get this going. About a minute, less than a minute.
Nothing the final here in Game 5, and the Mets are going to the World Series. We go down to Steve Lyons. Steve?
All right, Joe, we got another one of the heroes here for the Mets, Jay Payton. And Jay, a tremendous series for you. At 27 years old, you're not a rookie anymore, are you?
I mean, it's great. You know, I'm just happy to be out here playing, and now we're going to the World Series. Didn't swing the bat the way I wanted, but I was able to get a couple big hits, and every little bit helps out here.
And I know the way this ended with you getting hit there in the head. I know you're going to probably have to take a couple stitches, maybe a little bit of an ugly ending, but the emotions really took a hold when you got hit in the head there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hit in the face once before, and it wasn't intentional, but for me, man, as a hitter, you're kind of defenseless up there, you know, and I got hit, and the best of my reactions got to me. You know, you just want to go get somebody. It's like taking a sucker punch almost, but, you know, I don't know if there was any intent there. I'd like to think there wasn't. You know, I think, you know, Beers is a good guy, and it's just, you know, that was one of those things. Hopefully it was just a pitch that got away, and, you know, it's over with now. We're going to the World Series, so that's all I really care about.
And I know that your first reaction is to get upset about that, but I think everybody on both sides did a pretty good job with this crowd here in New York to make sure that that didn't get out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to do anything. You know, I just went out there and just, you know, I mean, it's like I say, it's emotions more than anything. And, you know, like I say, I like to just, you know, hopefully there wasn't any intent. And, you know, right now I don't even really care. I'm just glad we're going to the World Series.
You are going to the World Series. What does that mean?
It's great. You know, I mean, for me, I was happy. You know, 3 years ago, I didn't even know if I'd be playing again. So to be going to the World Series in my first full season is it's awesome. Can't even put it into words, really.
All right, get inside. There's a bottle of champagne with your name on it, man.
All right, I'm going to go get it. All right, good luck, man.
All right, Joe, let's go back to you.
In the Mets locker room, where the champagne is already flying, as baseball vice president of on-field operations Frank Robinson and I both know, along with Nelson Doubleday, the chairman of the board of the Mets, victorious manager Bobby Valentine, and general manager and vice president Steve Phillips. And Frank, you're here for the official presentation of the somewhat damp Warren C. Giles Trophy as National League champions for the year 2000.
Thank you, Keith. Nelson, Bobby, Steve, on behalf of Major League Baseball, I'm proud to present you the Warren C. Giles National League Championship Trophy to the 2000 National League champions New York Mets. Congratulations.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank.
Hey, guys! Hey, give this a second, guys. Look over here. That's a big one for you guys right there.
Mr. Doubleday, let me get your thoughts on this tremendous season and the prospects of what may lay ahead, or what certainly lays ahead for you, but may lay ahead for another team that occupies the neighborhood.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen to them. They've got their own problems, and we got by ours, and we look forward to meeting whoever shows up on Saturday.
And this must be a particular triumph for you, considering the downturn in the early 90s with the team and how the team has been rebuilt to prominence, the problems with the Braves and all of that, and that trophy is...
There's the man. There's the man right there. He did it right there, and the guy the last couple of years been leading us. They're the men that did it.
Let me proceed then with these gentlemen. Congratulations, sir, Mr. Doubleday. I'm Mr. Phillips. Congratulations on this. And as the celebratory music begins, the words can't, I'm sure, describe it right now, but what are your emotions at this moment going to the World Series?
Oh, absolutely ecstatic and really in disbelief right now. I mean, all the hard work and effort, our scouting staff, player development staff, the front office guys, Bobby and his guys, and the effort the players put in, just fantastic. Great for our Mets fans and great for the city of New York. We're really happy right now.
And I suppose this is the exact moment you'll begin the contract negotiations with Mr. Valentine?
Well, yeah. We're not answering questions about contracts.
Not meant seriously. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Let me finish off with the manager. Thank you, Steve. Bobby, yesterday you wouldn't use the words World Series when I asked you about the prospects of playing on Saturday and Sunday. Can you say it now?
Yeah, we're going to the World Series, and these guys deserve to be there. I'd like to share with Jay Horowitz is right there, one of the great PR directors, and all the members of this organization. And our family, and Al Leiter and all the boys. This is a great family, and a special congratulations to the Cardinals, a great team. They were battled up, but they're a great champion, too.
Darryl Hamilton, if you want to take notes, on the left side. And considering the length of time you have been in the game and what you have struggled through, what last season was like in the middle of the year, can you reflect on flashback to the kid who was drafted by the Dodgers in 1968 and the long road to a World Series finally?
Yeah, it's been a long road, but I'm a 50-year-old young man, and a lot of guys would like to trade places right here, and I just like to share it with all my family, my wife Mary and Bobby, all my friends in this great organization, the New York Mets.
Now, there seems to be a reluctance, even though we're now talking about the fact that the Mets are in the 2000 World Series, the prospects of there being Fred Wilpon.
You deserve to be wet, baby.
Great job, baby. Great job.
You're late. What the heck? Go for it, man.
Congratulations, Mr. Wilpon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And we hope that this problem was obtained inside the locker room rather than outside.
It happened when I walked in. Something happened.
Let me finish with Bobby
Mike
here.
Mike Hampton needs to talk to you right now.
He needs to talk to us right now. Bobby, thank you much.
Thank you.
National League Championship Series MVP Mike Hampton. Step up front with us, and Frank Robinson will present the trophy to you.
Mike, it's a real pleasure for me to be able to present you the 2000 National League Championship Series Most Valuable Players Award. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I mean, what to say? You know, we had a
a lot of great talent out there. Timo was the spark plug. Piazza had a great series. Alfonso had a great series. This is truly an honor to take this trophy, but there's many deserving people that got a little piece of this as well.
The St. Louis Cardinals that you defeated twice and kept scoreless for the length of the time that you were in against them in the first game, and obviously in this one, still put base runners on, still fought you down to the last game. I guess this probably was the toughest 5-game series you've ever seen.
Well, that's why they were so successful during the season and the postseason. They never die. You know, they got a bunch of guys over there that are gritty, great professionals, and work hard and play hard. And it showed during this series. You know, they were in every game. They battled their tails off. You know, we just, you know, breaks went our way, and when we needed to, we got some clutch hitting, and you know, it resulted in 4 wins, just what we needed.
Mike, what about the feeling of coming into this game and saying to yourself or saying to others that you were ready to deliver the game of games? Did you feel like you did that? Did you have it from the first moment out there?
I really felt good warming up. You know, the biggest thing is to stay focused through the run scoring, through the fans. I mean, they were rowdy tonight. The biggest thing was to be able to stay focused, and I did that. I concentrated on every pitch, and that's what you have to do against a Cardinals team like they have.
Let me ask you one brief question. Would you be the only one on this team who might rather face the Seattle Mariners because you started with that organization?
Yeah, I really don't look back upon that, you know, at all. I'm just, you know, whoever we face, I like our chances. We got a great team, and we're going to go out there and battle our butts off.
Mike, congratulations being on the National League Championship team and being the MVP.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take a break and then come back with more from the Mets locker room after this.